Welcome back, everybody. Congress remains split on a reconciliation bill, but our next guest says that the government must first address its out-of-control spending and debt. Joining us right now is Senator Bill Cassidy. He's a member of the Finance Committee, and he chairs the Health, Education, Labor, and Pension Committee. Senator, thank you for being with us this morning. You've got concerns about our debt. How do you think that should be dealt with our upcoming budget plans?
Well, first, let's explain the concerns. Right now, we have $36 trillion in debt. Right now, if we do nothing, if we just stay on autopilot, we'll add another $21 trillion over the next 10 years. And if we're not careful, with the reconciliation bill and other spending programs, we'll add $8 to $11 trillion on top of that. We may in 10 years have $65 trillion in kind of like net present value in debt. Now, that's going to drive up the 10-year treasuries. That's going to destroy the American dream. You want a mortgage, it's going to be too expensive. You want to finance a car, too expensive. Credit card debt, you better pay that balance every month. Student loans, I can keep going. Anything with a variable interest is going to be much higher than now, destroys the American dream. We need to kind of take care of the debt to keep that from happening.
Senator, I don't disagree with you on that, but let's lay out what the president has said he would like to see passed. He wants to extend the 2017 tax cuts. He wants to expand the SALT deduction, enact tax breaks for goods that are made in America, cut taxes on tips, overtime pay, Social Security benefits, eliminate tax breaks for carried interest and stadium owners. Maybe that offsets it some. But if you add all that up, the Committee for a Responsible Federal Budget said that would cut revenue by somewhere between $5 and $11.2 trillion over the next 10 years. It would boost debt to between 132 to 149% of GDP by 2035 versus almost 100% today and 118% under current laws. So which of those things would you take out and say this is not going to be allowed or accepted, or how do you pay for all of those things that are in it?
The president has said, for example, that he doesn't want to touch Medicare and Medicaid. What he means is not don't go after things which was inappropriate spending. He's saying don't cut benefits to beneficiaries. And so anyone who thinks that we can't find savings in the federal government, I mean, the federal government's got savings all over the place. And so if we can't go to the federal government and say we can do something more efficient, then mind you, just not looking. DOGE, which has some excesses, but some of what DOGE is doing is quite on point, is an example of taking three agencies with similar functions and trying to combine them to one agency that kind of spans the breadth, saving the taxpayer lots of money. Let's bring that approach not to just what DOGE is doing, discretionary spending, but let's look at Medicare. Is there some way that we can cut Medicare so that reform Medicare so that benefits stay the same, but that it's less expensive, more efficient? I would say that there is, and that's where our opportunity lies.
So you agree with all of those tax cuts and tax plans, and you think it can all be paid for just with efficiency that we find in other areas of the government?
I'm going to say I agree with them all. If we're going to extend present policy as current baseline just to go into procedures, I want to pay for that. Figure out how to pay for it. It's really good to make things permanent, but you got to be able to live within your means. And so
there was an idea
of that.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead, sir.
Because if we don't live within our means, we're going to destroy the American dream. The American dream will become a nightmare of expensive rates that are too high and people unable to afford mortgages, car notes, et cetera.
There was an idea floated by Axios this week. They were reporting that it's being discussed in the White House at this point to allow taxes on the wealthiest Americans to go up, allow that to go back up to 39.6% from the 37% it was under the 2017 agreement, and using that to then pay for no taxes on tips. Would you agree with that?
I'd rather see everything as part. If you give me an isolated something, it's hard to judge. Whatever is in the final package has got to be part of a package. So if the president says, wait a second, I want to give a little extra dollar for the person who's at the lower end of the spectrum and ask people at the upper end of the spectrum to pay for it, that obviously reflects the president's kind of instinct. So that needs to be part of a package brought before us. My point, though, is that we've got to pay for whatever we do, live within our means, because if we don't live within our means, the American dream becomes a nightmare.
Senator, if we did the tariffs, and Navarro says $600 billion in tariffs a year. Do you believe that that could be used to pay for some of this stuff? Is that the same as raising taxes? I mean, it is the same as raising taxes, but do you believe that money could actually be used to offset some of the other things the president wants to do? Is that the real world? Could that happen?
So, yeah. So a couple things. Just to go into process, if the executive branch puts a tariff on, then we cannot claim it for an offset in reconciliation. If the congressional branch puts a fee or a tariff on incoming goods, we can use it. I've been promoting what I call a foreign pollution fee, which is so if China ignores environmental laws, it lowers their cost of manufacturing by 20%. My fee, if you will, would put a tariff on goods coming from a country like China, roughly equal to what they're not spending to control inflation. That would level the playing field and encourage them to clean up their act literally, but also encourage, in the meantime, companies to reshore here. So that would be a congressionally instituted fee, and that could count towards reconciliation. Now, if the president does something, I'm almost agnostic. I just want to make sure that we pay for it. And if technically we can't use it because it's in the executive, but no, it's actually bringing revenue to our government, and the president can pull it off, I'm all for it.
Senator, you're a doctor as well as a senator, and we've listened to you for a long time, asked you about questions about things on medical issues. You were looking like you were going to be the lone holdout to confirm RFK Jr. to HHS. You went ahead and went along with it, and we have seen some big changes that have taken place there, including Peter Marks stepping down. The Wall Street Journal editorial page yesterday had an opinion piece or an op-ed piece that basically said RFK Jr. is already vindicating his critics because of Peter Marks stepping down and other changes they see there in terms of who's being put in. David Geyer, an anti-vaccine crusader, being put in charge there. Do you have any concerns about what you've seen?
Well, first, let me say of Marty Makary, the doctor who's now in charge of FDA, it's his responsibility to make sure that Peter Marks is replaced by somebody with a similar credentials scientifically and medically. If he does that, then this will blow over. So I think the test is in who replaces Dr. Marks. As regards David Geyer, RFK tells me that he's merely going to help look at the data. I don't think Dr. Geyer, Mr. Geyer is not a doctor, is qualified. But we'll see what the administration decides to do with that. And there's a lot at stake. If we see the kind of continued increase of measles cases, and God forbid another child dying from a vaccine-preventable disease, that's going to be a problem. It's going to be a tragedy, but it'll be a political problem for the administration. I'm sure they're aware of that. And so stop the tragedy and never have to worry about the political problem. But I'm trusting Dr. Makary to pull this off. And by the way, Joe, I hope your reflex is doing better.
You don't want to get me started. I don't have it. I had a you're a doctor. I had a gangrenous cholecystitis, which is necrosis of my entire gallbladder. It's gone now, and the GERD is gone.
You lost weight, too?
It wasn't GERD.
You've lost a lot of weight.
Yeah, I lost 15 pounds, but I don't think it was ever GERD. It's really unbelievable. It's crazy. But it got bad. I didn't know it. I was misdiagnosed. I should sue. No, I'm sorry.
You probably
I
had GERD. Yeah.
Senator, very quickly, you said that Peter Marks should be replaced by someone with his same ilk. We had Dr. Scott Gottlieb on with us yesterday. Obviously, he was the head of the FDA in the last Trump administration, and he said the big concern about Marks leaving isn't just what he was dealing with vaccines, but with innovation writ large. That he had been responsible for moving a lot of therapies forward for children and for other areas. And really pushing the FDA to do some new things. He was concerned about the message this sends to innovators everywhere, and we did see biotech stocks off sharply yesterday.
Yeah, so all I can say is who replaces him? Is he replaced with someone who similarly emphasizes innovation and rapidity of getting things through? If he's replaced with that person, then I think we can kind of relax. And if not, that'll be a bad signal. It'll be a terrible signal because we don't want innovation not coming to market, innovation that can actually save lives. We want that coming sooner, not later. And that's the promise of this administration.
Okay. Senator Cassidy, thank you.
Thank you.